Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Macaw Podcast Universe. It is the podcast to exist to prove people wrong when they say that sequels are never better than the originals. Problem is, so far this series is not proving our tagline correct.
But that's why we do it.
And with us today, we're joined by two fellow podcasters. We have Dan and Jeremy from the 90 Under 90 podcast. Hello, guys.
Hey. Hello out there.
And 90 Under 90 is a pretty fun podcast where you guys cover you're trying to cover 90 movies that are all 90 minutes or less. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is every season. We have 90 movies, and for us, a season lasts about 2 years because we only do one show a week. But that was what it originally just started to let's just make sure we can get to 90, and then we did, and then we were like, all right, we're good to keep going. So we'll just call it the next season, the next wave of episodes. So the title is almost kind of obsolete at this point. It doesn't quite match up to. We are now well over 100 episodes, so yeah, we've gone above and beyond 90, but not this season. So yeah,
okay. Because see, I've listened to a few, but I did not realize you had reached the goal because I haven't gone completely down the archive yet. Oh
yeah, we've
so I've just listened to a
pretty
few.
Far.
I think we
so you're on season 2.
Yeah, I think we celebrated 100 recently with Revenge of the Nerds of all movies.
Wow.
So.
Okay.
I don't know why.
But as we pointed out on the show, 100 episodes and a show based around the number 90 is kind of it's not that special. So we found a movie that was fittingly not so special.
Well, one of the things that I really like is that You are covering a lot of kind of lost comedies, it feels like, which is very fun to hear you guys gab about.
Yeah, the movies that we like are definitely the ones that are the most fun, or the movies that we absolutely hate are the ones that can also be pretty fun to do too.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's just the thing about 90 minutes is that there's not a lot of for the most part, it's a lot of comedies and a lot of animated or family movies. And, every now and then you get a sci-fi or a drama or a horror movie. There's a decent number of horror movies that are under 90 minutes too. Right. But for the most part, yeah, comedies tend to stick to that 90 minutes, quick and done, let's get in and get out thing. And, dramas tend to go above that. And we're not ready yet to do 120 over 120.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man.
Well, we thought that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, maybe when we officially run out of really good 90-minute movies, but there's still some big titles on there that we have just been saving for the sake of saving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we thought it would be, because Jeremy, you and I have been texting for months now, trying to get together because if you're listening to our podcast, I can't remember which one will come out first, but in the same week, Jordan and I will be on your podcast covering we'll see what you guys think, and don't tell us right now because I don't want to know. But we're covering the fantastic Mr. Fox, which is a big hit at our household. Maybe we'll get into some controversy. I don't know. Who knows? Or maybe we'll all just love it. I don't know.
We'll either be best friends or absolute enemies by the end of the episode for sure.
So, but we chose this movie because it was the closest movie on our slate that is closest to 90 minutes, because it's an hour and 32.
Yeah,
close enough.
Almost made it. Yeah.
It's
barely.
If they cut the credits, it's under 90.
Yeah, or just speed them up 25%. Have them scroll a little bit faster, and we could have gotten there, but it was not to be.
And I would say I think that could be one of my problems with the movie, but
that it's too
we're going to get
short?
into that.
Okay.
So, when was the first time you two could you hit me with your Jurassic Park experience and then specifically this movie?
Jared, I'll tell the 3 story. You can get into the whole overview.
Yeah, I'll absolutely let you get into our viewing of Jurassic Park 3, because that is certainly, without even having spoken about this, I already know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
My Jurassic Park experience goes deep. I did not see it in the theater. I was like 7 or 8 years old when the movie came out in 1993. It was a little, they weren't fully ready to let me watch it in the theater, but on home video, when it came out, I remember very distinctly a day. Our parents were separated for most of our childhood, so I do remember this being a time where our dad came over. We all got Pizza Hut. It was when they first started introducing the stuffed crust pizza. That's kind of how old we are, or at least
it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
The first time I ever remember it as a kid. So I don't know if maybe it existed prior to this and they brought it back. But yeah, when it was like 93, and I remember sitting down watching, like laying on the floor watching Jurassic Park, and being blown away by how good everything looked. I mean, I obviously I have not heard your other 2 episodes, as they have not dropped yet on Jurassic Park, but or at least as the time of this recording. But I mean, for me, I still compare special effects in movies today to Jurassic Park. I'm like, if it doesn't look as good as it looked in Jurassic Park, then the movie it doesn't do good in their special effects in my book. Like I've been there from the beginning, and not to go on for too long, but to me, the other fascinating thing about Jurassic Park was that this was, the movie that kind of introduced me to filmmaking, because I remember there was the Making of Jurassic Park special. And that really, like, I was really fascinated by that whole, like, 1 hour special that was, like, on, I don't know, it was, like, on NBC or something like that. And then it was then, like, later put onto the DVDs and stuff. So the Making of Jurassic Park, coupled with, like, special features that were on, like, the early DVD releases where they were, like, doing Foley art, were 2 things that, like, really, like, opened my eyes and, like, my whole world to the idea of filmmaking as, like, a craft and an art, as opposed to just disposable entertainment that, you know, I can just consume as a kid, you know?
Wow. Very good. Wow. love all of that. So what's your relationship with this movie?
With
like, when was the first time you saw it? What did you think of it at the time? You know?
All right. Let me transport you guys. It's to the year early 2000s, and we're in the theater, and we're sitting there, and it looks like we got the first few rows to ourselves, fairly packed, but then this group of, like, old people come in. These old white people. There's probably like 6 of them, and like maybe they're all dating. They're all like triple, like they're doing a group dating thing. But they sat right in front of us, and they had some jokes throughout the whole thing. I remember spoilers when they get to the bird cage. This lady thought she was like Joan Rivers. She like turned everybody. She was like, "That's guano, everybody, guano. That's guano." like what the if you and then just multiply that by 1,000, and that was the experience. It almost ruined this movie for me. Almost.
I think you might be forgetting. Is there another detail that you are getting to? Because you might be forgetting one other detail about this.
This is Jer kind of baiting me to remember what else happened here. I don't remember what
okay, so another thing that happened during this experience was, like, in addition to those old people talking, somebody exited the, like, you know, like at the front where the screens are, they usually have like an exit that kind of leads out to the street.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So somebody went out that exit and like left the door propped open. So for like, no kidding, like 40 minutes, daylight from outside, because we saw it in the afternoon, was pouring into the theater, and like nobody bothered to get up and like close it,
including us, I guess.
Well, we were kind of like stuck in the middle of a row. It would have been more difficult, but like I was literally like a second or two away from like getting up and doing it myself before somebody actually like got up and closed it.
Yeah. And I just remember those old people, man. They were the worst.
They really ruined the whole theatrical experience for this movie.
When I saw the Revenant, which is, you know, very intense. two old couple sitting behind me and my friend, and the woman is narrating the entire movie to her husband, as if he's not sitting there and she's like on the phone with him instead.
Oh my gosh.
Is she reading it like action description? It's like it's a cold,
It was like
desolate
oh, now he's going over here
forest.
because he needs to do this thing for this person over here. Like, gosh, it was awful.
Oh my! And now a bear is mauling the shit out of Leonardo DiCaprio. I was going to ask, do you guys? I have my ranking. Are you going to save that for the end for Jurassics? Will you indulge me?
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, please.
Okay, my favorite is, of course, 1. My second favorite is actually this movie.
Okay.
My third favorite, believe it or not, is might be Fallen Kingdom.
Oh,
and
okay.
I know. And my fourth is probably World and then Lost World. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to spoil it for our listeners. Once we end the episode, I'll let you know where my ranking is. But also, like, when we do these series, I always try to go into it with, like, I'm either going to crack this movie and this movie that I don't like and figure out why it actually is good, or I'm just going to give it a totally fresh perspective and, like, really give it a chance. So I have some really strong opinions about Fallen Kingdom in particular.
He'll just be yelling the whole episode.
But when we watch it, my promise to our audience is I'm always going to, like, attempt to watch it anew. I'm always going to at least try.
Yeah.
Mike is a lot better at that than I am. Very much. But for this movie, I did not see Jurassic Park until I was in college, as the listener knows. So I'm a very late viewer of the series. I think I even saw Jurassic World before Jurassic Park. That's possible. I can't totally remember. But
that's just so
this
weird.
Movie,
I say it every episode when you explain it to our guests, but I cannot believe you didn't grow up with Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So this movie, I was like, oh, I've never seen this movie. And then we're watching it, and then the plane crashes, and I was like, I've seen this movie. I think I've seen half of this movie. So
yeah, this is like a big cable movie.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I remember watching it on TV.
This movie is all over TNT, guys.
This is just like it's short enough that they can extend it to like 2 hours, and they don't even have to cut anything out of the movie.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's perfect.
But yeah, I remember the first time I saw the movie this was the first one I was able to see in theaters, because I think I would have been like 8 or 9. So I was able to see it, and
when did this movie come out?
2001.
Oh, okay.
So at the time, I was like very stoked about it, very, very much so. It's changed a bit as we've gone on. I do find it kind of charming, though. I will say that. I'm gonna probably criticize a lot, but it's a pretty fun movie. I'm gonna say that up front.
Okay.
Cool.
This one is without a doubt the second best one. And I haven't even seen all of them, but I agree with that. It is way better than last movie.
I mean, I don't know your guys' opinion on World, but I mean, if you want a strong opinion, Jurassic World makes me cry, and I'll get into that later. So,
yes,
because it's bad.
No, it makes me cry for all the right Pixar-like reasons.
Oh, really?
Well.
Yes,
right.
And I'll explain that later, because that's not this movie, but
yeah.
I'll definitely share my love of a World at the end.
Well, okay,
Look
that's
out for
gonna
that,
be.
you guys.
I'm excited about that, because that movie has a very complicated like fan base. It feels like, like online, it's an easy movie to bash, but I did like it. But it's also like I feel like I'm not allowed to like it because of the culture that has become around the movie. But we'll see. I'm going to watch it this week and record a podcast about it, so they'll hear it.
Yeah. So all I can say is I kind of think that all fandom is a little toxic these days. So, no matter what you like or don't like, you're going to get poisoned from everybody around you.
Yep.
That is very, very true. So let's jump into the production. We have covered this director before, Jordan, because this is Joe Johnston, the director of Captain America: The First Avenger.
Okay.
Our favorite Captain America movie. Is it?
Oh.
Which one's your favorite? Just to get a feel.
My favorite MCU movie is Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, big fan of that one.
Yeah,
that one. So when I saw okay, when we watched Captain America 1, it was the second time I saw it, and I hated it the first time. And then when we rewatched it, I was like, this movie's not that bad. And then when we watched Winter Soldier, I was like, this is the only one I remember liking. And then we watched it, and I was like, I don't like this movie anymore. A lot of flip-flopping as we covered that series for me.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
So you'll have to, I mean, if you want to, I don't want to just keep recapping for the listener, but if you want to have a fight over email or text or something, listen to that episode and text us about it.
All right.
But so this is directed by Joe Johnston. He's also the guy who did Jumanji, Hidalgo, October Sky, and most recently, he had to get into the Four Realms. He went with the Nutcracker into the Four Realms. The movie's produced by Kathleen Kennedy, of course. Larry Franco, who produces a bunch of Joe Johnston movies, Batman Begins, Mars Attacks, Batman Returns, Prince of Darkness, and The Thing. So he's like a John Carpenter, Tim Burton, Joe Johnston guy.
Interesting.
Written by Peter Buckman, who did both of the Che movies, which are the Benicio del Toro, Steven Soderbergh movies, which I have not seen those, but I would love to watch them. He also wrote Aragon. And then we have Alexander Payne, who wrote and directed Downsizing, Descendants, Sideways, About Schmidt, and then Jim Taylor, who did Juliet, Naked, Downsizing, Sideways, and About Schmidt. So I think they're writing partners.
Yeah.
And then music, we have Don Davis, who we spent a little time with last weekend, Jordan, because he did the 3 Matrix movies.
Oh, he did. So who is this?
Don Davis is the music for this movie.
Okay.
And just for the record,
he did all the Matrix movies?
Yeah, the 3 Matrix scores are fantastic. Love the scores to those movies. Very cool. Cinematography, we have Shelley Johnston, who works with Joe Johnston.
Okay.
The budget of this movie, $93 million. And this is a huge drop off from the previous. We're about to hit the box office. So the movie domestically makes $181 million, and then worldwide it makes $368 million.
Ooh.
So it went from Jurassic Park 1 getting over $900 million, Jurassic Park 2 around $650 million, to this one $368.
Oh, that is so bad.
And if I can say that one of the reasons that I think contributes to that is because every single theater had 6 old people that would talk throughout the entire movie, and it made everybody sour on the movie, and the word of mouth got around.
Yeah,
nobody wanted to go.
I think that was in Ebert's review. He just said, "Why are these old people at every screen?"
They wouldn't stop talking, and it wasn't guano.
So let's talk about how the movie was made here. Spielberg was like, I can't direct another one. A lot of work. But he remembered that Joe Johnston had expressed interest in directing the second movie.
Yeah.
So the two of them start working together. And Spielberg's original idea, which I think is kind of insane. It's kind of an insane idea. When you take into account who Alan Grant is, this doesn't make any sense. His original idea was that Alan Grant snuck on one of Injun's islands to study the dinosaurs secretly and was living in a tree like Robinson Crusoe.
I'm in.
Wait. When you and I were talking about last night, what are different stories that they could have done?
Yeah.
Isn't this literally what I said? Just not Alan Grant?
Well, I think that's my problem to me is Alan Grant doing it.
Yeah. But not saying that would be a great movie or anything. Just this is something else they could have done.
Yes.
That wasn't the same movie as the other ones.
I suppose if you switch a character, it could be pretty interesting. But Joe
weird.
Johnston was like, I don't think Alan Grant would do that. So they scrapped the idea.
No.
Then
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of a big bushy beard on Sam Neill with that hat and a big bushy beard living in a tree. That sounds amazing.
Well, I did not consider the beard in his hunt for the wilder people.
You always must consider the beard.
Yeah.
So then screenwriter Greg Rosenberg had a draft where teenagers were marooned on an island.
Okay.
Which, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then Peter Buckman takes a crack at it, and his idea is that pteranodons, which we've been calling pterodactyls, but I guess they're called pteranodons,
Okay.
escape and cause mysterious killings, and then I think in Costa Rica, and then Alan Grant, Billy, and the family crash land on Isla Sorna.
That sounds busy.
Yeah, yes. But then 2 weeks before filming, Johnston and Spielberg were not happy with the script, so after $18 million was already spent, they started a new draft.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
so I'm painting a picture for you. This was not a good production. And I don't know if it's because I had done all this research before, but I felt like I could kind of see that in the movie. But I don't know. Maybe the three of you would disagree with me on that.
Maybe because they spend so much time, they're like, let's just come up with the simplest story possible. Because this story seems pretty simple to me compared to the last movie, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, The Lost World is kind of like, it's two movies. You know, you got the first half, which like is all the island stuff, and then you got this nonsense with the baby T-Rex. Yeah. And then you bring them to the mainland, and it's like it should be a completely separate movie. But like Spielberg was like, well, I don't know that I'm ever going to direct another one of these. So he crammed it into the last one when really that like could have been like its own separate thing. And then, you got Joe Johnston like, I'll do it. Like,
well, and I will say that as much as I did not like Fallen Kingdom, I will say I love how the movie ended with the possibilities of what a third movie could be. Because it does feel like the first time the series is like, okay, we might do something different. Is how that felt to me.
Actually make it a Jurassic World.
Right. Which I think was the idea behind that whole trilogy. But we'll see. We'll see if they stick the landing. So then...
In Trevorrow we trust, right, guys? Book of Henry.
Let's get it going. Open that book.
High five.
Is that under 90?
Unfortunately, no.
Because
I really want to do that one. I can't tell you guys how many times we have that exact same exchange. Is that under 90? No.
See, because I have not. I have not seen it, but I've listened. I don't know if you guys ever listen to Blank Check, the podcast.
Oh yeah.
And their episode on that I laugh out loud I've listened to it twice because it's like one of my favorite episodes of their show.
Sometimes they bounce, baby.
Okay, so continuing on here, David Koepp, who wrote the screenplay for the previous two movies, he said, "Why don't we just make it a rescue mission idea, and scrap them attacking the coast of Costa Rica?"
Okay.
So he kind of makes it a little cleaner, and then Universal liked Payne and Tyler's rewrite of Meet the Parents. So they decided to have them come in and do improved characters and story.
Okay.
You know, I just watched Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers just like a few days ago, just for the hell of it. And there's a lot of parts that don't hold up, but as far as comedy of errors go, I like to, it's not the worst.
I remember like the first one is fantastic as far as my memory serves me. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, for me it was quite a while, and like I was expecting to hate it, but I didn't hate it this time. I would recommend catching back up with it. But what I think it is really interesting that Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor did the script, because Sideways is one of my favorite movies, and I was like, when I see Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church talking about life, I think about dinosaurs on an island.
I see the potential in that, sure.
But no, they bring that human element, I guess, between like William H. Macy and Taya Leone.
Yeah.
Did that work for you guys? All that divorce stuff?
I theoretically like it. I think William H. Macy is really miscast in this movie, though.
I was into it. I thought it was very interesting.
I might be kind of in a corner on my own, which is kind of fun. But I feel like Macy has such a very specific energy. And I think of like my two favorite performances of his, Magnolia and then Fargo. Mm-hmm. And it's like he has this like kind of comedic sense about him. And the director was really able to use that as a weapon in both of those movies. And in this movie, it does feel like... I just feel like if he's cast, they just need to add like 3 or 4 really cheesy catchphrases, and this movie really works for me as like kind of a throwback like 80s action movie. But when you are trying to make like a serious Jurassic Park movie, the way he's talking and some of the things he says, it's a little like, I think
that I like that they have some baggage that's off screen. Like basically they are already divorced.
Yeah.
And what I liked part of the first movie, the Laura Dern and Sam Neill characters written in terms of like, they kind of have baggage too of like not wanting kids. Like that's a little thing that you can tell that they've discussed off screen. And then the second movie, probably what didn't really work for me with Julianne Moore and Jeff Goldblum being together is I just have a hard time seeing him being in a relationship.
Oh yeah,
because he's talked about being like such a womanizer. So it's just kind of like I don't really care what happens to your relationship.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is like, you know, to speak to the baggage is like the baggage that Sam Neill and Laura Dern have. It's like very subtly placed, and you're kind of like, what is that? Like, I want to know more about, because like I remember as a kid, you know, I'm like, are they together? Like in the beginning, I couldn't quite figure out like, are they actually a couple? Or like, you know, I didn't know because I just wasn't smart enough to put it all together. I was 8, but like when you get to the Lost World, it's for Ian Malcolm you just assume he has baggage, like, you know, like it's not a mystery. It's not like I don't want to know what's going on, what skeletons that guy's got in his closet, you know.
Weird.
Yeah, but I do think that I do like the story idea behind it, and I think that it's communicated fairly well. I have a problem. I mean, I want to iterate that I do like William H. Macy, but I don't think he works in the movie.
Okay.
But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll be convinced by the end of this episode. But I thought this was very interesting. So Alexander Payne has a quote about the movie, and he said, "We gave them a new script, and then we saw the movie, and it's all action. They took the rest out."
Oh.
And then we come to find out they never had a final draft while shooting the movie.
Problematic.
And they had technical problems, weather problems. Some days they would shoot a quarter of a page or an eighth of a page.
Ugh.
So William H. Macy has this quote to say about the filming. Now, this was taken when it was like an interview while they were shooting the movie. And he said, "The script has been evolving and being rewritten as we go. And what you want to say is, who launched a $100 million ship without a rudder? And who's getting fired for this? But that's the way it goes. That's the way they make these movies. Big deal. I think someone should be shot, but I'm not in charge."
Whoa. Also, my wife is in hot water for this college admissions scandal, and I'm really sorry about that.
So he says that, but then this cracks me up. I actually kind of love this drama about Hollywood, because then after the movie's over, he said, actually, it was an amazing experience. And
when he's doing a press run.
Yeah,
sure.
and then Joe Johnston's like, oh, I think he was just interviewed on a bad day. And it's like, okay, I think it probably just sucked to work on the movie.
Sounds like it.
And
that sounds really nice of Joe Johnston to cover for William H. Macy like that.
And then Johnston called his agent a few times and asked if he could get moved from the project.
A dude that wanted to work on the series so bad asked to leave.
Yeah, and then, you know, again, later he like backtracks as like this is like later interviews after the movie comes out, and he's like, yeah, I tried to quit a few times, but I'm glad I didn't, and it was a great experience. You know, which is what everyone says.
Yeah.
Right. Who the hell does he think he is? Brian Singer? Like, he can't get away with that.
Guys, this is his apocalypse now. There's even a boat on a river. There's harsh conditions. You really have to give it up for Johnston.
Which I think would make the little kid Marlon Brando, because he's the one on the island.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. He seems to be very knowledgeable, too.
I think of that cow getting slaughtered, and I think of the goat.
Oh my gosh!
So I guess this is a masterpiece then that I didn't see.
Yeah. End of episode. Bye,
Thanks
guys.
for coming on.
See you later.
So I just have a couple more facts. These are more fun. But the Spinosaurus animatronic was 44 feet long and weighed 13 tons.
Whoa.
And the Spinosaurus ripped the head off the T-Rex during filming.
Cool.
And then a company called D-Hop, this is just a stupid fact, okay, guys? So don't take this seriously. But a company called D-Hop-On, teamed up with the movie to offer a promotion for the world's first disposable cell phone, but they couldn't. They couldn't get it finished in time, and it was a ripoff of Nokia. So the winners received $30 and a DVD instead.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
I just wanted to mention that. I thought that was.
You're right. That was a stupid fact.
But I will say that it is the animatronic one is fascinating because it looks like garbage, and I wouldn't have assumed that there was an animatronic thing that was actually being photographed for most of this movie, because I thought that as a kid being there, I was like, oh no, we have taken a drastic step down in the visuals on this.
I think it looks good when it is the animatronic. Some of its movements are a little janky.
This movie looks like there have been no technological advancements since the first one.
That's true.
That's what it looks like, including CGI.
Yes.
Like especially that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Which, before we jump into actors, what was the significance of them? Is it they get the cell phone out of the poop, and then that dinosaur with the horn on its head looks at them and then walks
what was
away?
That?
Oh, yeah. Well, was it to establish the ringtone for later in the tummy? Or was that just to be funny and shitty? I don't know.
They had already established the ringtone, but they get it, and then while they're getting it, they look up and see this really, really bad-looking, like, T-Rex with a horn on it that's red.
And it's a dinosaur that's like, I mean, this... We don't know if this has existed, right? Unless I'm wrong, I don't know. But it's like,
oh, are you guys asking literally what was that creature that was staring at them?
Yeah, like because it just turns around and we never see it before or after.
Yeah, it's just
it's
kind
no
of
gun in the closet.
It's
thing.
like it's the girl with the balloon in Schindler's List.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
okay.
that.
A little nod to another Spielberg, they decided.
I don't need to explain that, right, guys?
Doing Spielberg.
Good.
Cool. I'll go through actors quickly.
Yeah, hit the actors, yeah.
So we've already covered Sam Neill and Laura Dern. So we have William H. Macy, which we've already talked about. He's in movies such as Fargo, Magnolia. He's in the show Shameless. He's in Boogie Nights, Seabiscuit, Door to Door, which I think is the first thing I ever saw William H. Macy in, where he's a salesman that has cerebral palsy.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember
and then
that. Yeah.
This was a little interesting to me. Well, actually, also, he's in Mystery Men, and then he's in the Gus Van Sant Psycho. But
who is he in the?
I
you didn't. Okay,
sorry.
He is in Psycho. He's the detective at the who starts. He's the detective, I believe, the main detective.
So then he's also in the Smash Mouth music video All Star. But also in that music video is Dane Cook, Paul Rubens, Janine Garofalo, Doug Jones, and Ben Stiller.
Doug Jones is in it?
So,
yeah.
Are you guys not familiar with Mystery Men?
I am with Mystery Men. Yeah, and I saw that his credit was the same as Mystery Men, so I just assumed it was something with that.
Yeah, so Mystery Men, most people think of All Star from Shrek, but Mystery Men was the title song from All Star was the song from Mystery Men, and then Shrek was like, no, we'll take it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's all part of our Smash Mouth podcast, which you guys can subscribe to. Please subscribe to that.
Do you guys cover the Bread Festival incident?
Oh, yeah. We actually have 5 episodes on that one. So, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. I've seen Mystery Men when I was a kid, kind of like before I was aware of these things. So
yeah, no, but I'm not saying you're wrong for not being familiar with Mystery Men. Believe me,
it's a little movie called Mystery Men, you guys.
But yeah, it was all those, especially like Dane Cook being the weird obscure one. Like he's in that movie for 30 seconds or something like that, and
that makes sense.
He's a waffle man.
Yeah, the waffler.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we have it's Taya Leone. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
I've never had to say it out loud. Okay, so Téa Leoni, she is Madam Secretary.
Wait, you've never been on the stand and had to witness against her or anything?
No.
Okay.
Not in a court of law. But she is Madam Secretary. She's also in Spanglish, Fun with Dick and Jane, which is what I know her from, Tower Heist, Deep Impact. She's in Bad Boys and A League of Their Own.
Oh,
okay.
A League of Her Own, huh? A League of Their Own, not her own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then Alessandro Nivola, who plays Billy.
Oh,
yeah.
Billy.
He's in a lot of movies that I didn't know that he was in. So he's in American Hustle. He's also in, as we know, The Art of Self-Defense.
Yeah, fantastic performance in that movie.
Very scary, that movie. Okay, then he's in Face Off.
Oh.
He's also in...
I don't remember that.
He's Nick Cage's brother. That's right. Yeah.
Oh. I would watch that movie again.
That movie
so
rules
fun.
so
That's
hard.
That's the movie where they take the face off, right?
My favorite part about them, it's so crazy and ridiculous, but it knows it, and that's what I love about it. But we were watching the movie for the first time, and at the end there's a boat scene. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
And they're like flying toward this boat, and I'm like, I start saying out loud, please jump the boat, please. And then it flies off and explodes, and I stood up in our apartment and just cheered.
We both did.
What,
We
Jordan?
both did.
Yeah, it was way too cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also in You Were Never Really Here.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah, he's also in The Neon Demon, Selma, and A Most Violent Year.
Cool.
Among other things.
Wow. Good career.
Yeah.
And then Trevor Morgan, who is the kid, he's also in The Sixth Sense, The Patriot, The Rookie, Barney's Great Adventure, and Conquering Kids.
We did Mean Creek, and he was in that recently.
Yeah.
Mean Creek.
Yeah.
What is that?
Mean Creek's a movie from like 2013 or something like that.
No,
It's,
2004.
Oh God. Christ. Well, man, I can't remember those. But yeah, no, that was
Josh Peck is in it.
yeah.
Ooh. Wow, throwback.
And a Culkin, and it's actually really good. It's about these kids who take a boat trip, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's a dramatic. Yeah.
Which Culkin is it?
The great one. What's his
Rory.
name?
The guy from
Rory.
Succession?
No.
Not Rory.
Well, actually,
Kieran.
I like my favorite is Kieran. Who's the guy from Scott Pilgrim?
Kieran.
It's not him.
Kieran.
It's the
It's
younger
Kieran.
one from
Yeah.
Scream 4.
And Signs. You know,
Rory's in Scream 4. Kieran is in Scott Pilgrim.
It's,
as well as Succession.
It's Rory in Mean Creek.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's good. He's also in Castle Rock.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Michael Jeter, who plays the guy, the one that survives for a little bit. He's in The Green Mile, Polar Express. He's Mr. Noodle on Sesame Street.
Mr. Noodle.
A ton of Sesame Street credits.
What a good gig.
Patch Adams, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Mouse Hunt, and Air Bud.
That's right.
I knew him from Air Bud.
Yeah. And then I wanted to mention Mark Herlick, who is the guy parasailing at the beginning with the kid. He is in an episode of Seinfeld.
Okay.
He's in the episode that he makes Jerry be bad at tennis to impress his wife.
That's right.
Don't remember that.
Another
Okay.
round for Milos.
Yep. And then two more. John Deal, who was in Stargate, Stripes, A Time to Kill, as well as Castle Rock.
Who is he, though?
Oh, he is the white guy flying the plane.
Okay.
And then the black guy who also died early on too. Bruce A. Young. He's in Basic Instinct, Risky Business, and Hot Shots.
Now, was the black guy the first guy to die again in this movie?
No.
No. Okay.
It was
They break that tradition in this movie?
It was Cooper, the bearded, black-haired gentleman who gets eaten by the Spinosaurus.
Like as they're trying to take off in the plane.
Yes. Okay.
And technically it probably would be the guy parasailing.
Yes.
Technically, but not on screen.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, because we talked about this on both our previous episodes, but it is that classic like really dumb joke, like stereotype. I don't know why it happens, but in both the previous two movies, it's a black guy that gets killed first.
I mean, it's not just these movies that do it.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
I heard Spielberg invented that trope, actually. No, that's we don't want to spread that information. Sorry, guys.
I'm cutting that out of the episode. I love Spielberg too much for you to do that to him.
That's okay.
So let's jump into the plot of the movie. We'll just walk through it. So the movie starts with the paragliding sequence, and we see Eric and his like stepdad. I don't know if they're married. It doesn't really matter, but they're paragliding, and you're going by Isla Sorna, and it says restricted, and I like this idea a lot. I think the technology is very dated. I mean, it's very green screeny looking, but the idea of it is pretty terrifying. Like looking down after the clouds and you look down in your boat and it's empty.
Yeah.
And clearly it's been attacked.
Yeah.
That's cool. Then they get on, they like...
They parasail into the island.
Yeah. And then you go, okay, so it's a rescue mission. Okay.
Yeah.
Movie's established already. Mm-hmm. I think one thing to note as we go, as much as we did point out a lot of the issues with Lost World, I just think that Spielberg is just still such a master of creating tension. And this movie really lacks that for me. I think if this movie spent a little more time to give tension in these sequences, I think I would probably like it a lot. But something like this parasailing scene, it's so fast and the shots are very like average to me that it's just kind of like, okay, they're dead. Okay, he's getting on the island. Oh, it's more of like, now I know what's happening, not I'm scared of what's happening, as I have been in the previous two movies.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's like by the time you get to the third movie, you really do have to kind of shake things up because we've seen this kind of stuff before. And like, if you're not going to freshen up the shots or at the very least, then like, what are we doing? Just repeating the same stuff, you know?
And I'll just say, when it comes to like a franchise, you're handing it off to a director. I often think that the directors who they hand it off to, they get a lot right, but they often forget some really key ingredients to what made previous installments work. You know, like I think of like Ocean's 8, not to really, I don't want to shit on that too much, but like I feel like F. Gary Gray, he did like a crash course in Soderbergh, and then he just like, all right, I get the gist of it, but like he doesn't get the seasonings of the entire stew, you know? And I think Johnston's the same way.
Yeah, and I think there is an element of copycatting that happens. Yeah. Where it's like, maybe if Joe Johnston felt the freedom to just do what he does, maybe the movie could be a little more interesting. Because it's kind of like those first two phases of, or the second phase of Marvel felt like everyone was kind of trying to like copy like, even though I like a lot of those movies, particularly Guardians of the Galaxy, but some of those movies are like, we got to do what we did in the Avengers movie and follow the Joss Whedon thing. And then it felt like in phase 3, they finally let that go. And they were like, okay, it's a Taika Waititi movie. Okay, James Gunn like really go balls to the walls on this one. And then I think the movies are more interesting the more they make because they're letting directors be a little more interesting with what they do.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yes, got him. So then we cut to Alan Grant, and he's with Elsie Sattler, that's Laura Dern.
Oh, yeah.
And
Ellie.
There's a kid there. Or Ellie, dang it. And when he was talking to the kid, I was like, oh, this is kind of dumb that he would like talk to his own kid this way and like not realize stuff. And
Are you supposed to think it's his kid?
They're totally setting that up. Yeah,
okay.
And I will say, I think the movie totally tricked me because it's been so long since I've seen it. And when I saw that was not,
and then she
they
kisses
were not
this
married,
other man on the mouth, and I was like, weird.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that was kind of clever. And I do kind of, okay, yes.
What if they're in a tryst, you know, and it's Grant and this one guy, and they're sharing, you know, it could be that, you know, you guys, you know, we're living in early 2000s here, guys.
But I just thought that reversal was kind of, it was kind of clever. And I do like the idea that they didn't get married, even though, it's like I kind of want that as having watched the other movies.
I mean, I just assume because, you know, the first movie, it was pretty clear that their biggest issue in their relationship was him not wanting kids.
Right. Because
so
they
like
smell.
They smell. So he couldn't handle it.
Babies smell. Sorry. Sorry. What do you guys think? Like, I like to project other funny stories besides him not wanting kids. Like, do you think like he really wanted to hook up with her and like he tried to wear her down and like he called her all the time? She's like, oh, that fucking Grant again. He's like, I've really changed, Ellie. I got this new guy, Billy. He's working for me. And, I'm really grown. It's too late.
And then she finally invites him over to like interact with her kid. And he's like,
yeah, she's like, maybe they'll work out.
You want to play with the Triceratops? Or let me school you. Like, can we just come on? Can I treat it like a classroom?
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. If any franchise doesn't need to have recurring characters, it is this one. Because I just think, if you really look at the events of the first Jurassic Park movie, the way they experienced that and then them getting back, it really, no matter how contrived they can make the plot devices, it really is like, I don't ever see a world where Ian Malcolm ever spends any time with dinosaurs. I don't see a world where Alan Grant does none of that. And then hearing that they're like Laura Dern and Sam Neill have signed on for the last Jurassic Park movie that they're making, I'm like, but I think that they shouldn't be in it. I don't think that we need them there. I think it should be different people, I don't know what you guys think of that. It's just
it's tricky because I think a lot of what makes a producer a franchise, what makes a franchise to a producer is like the characters. And
sure,
for me individually, it's really something to ponder. I think when I read that news, it put a smile on my face, actually, if I'm being honest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, great. I try not to be. I don't like being the cynical person. That's
sure,
but it's
No, I get it though. Like, do we really need to wheel these guys out? Like when I saw Palpatine in 9, spoilers, guys. I was like, come on, this poor guy. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's a little like, I don't know that we need him here. There's big enough threats. I don't know that there needs to be a puppet master behind the 8 other puppet masters.
Right. I will say for this movie, in terms of getting Sam Neill back, I think they did it pretty well. Like it logically makes sense. Like he just really needs money.
Yeah.
Like to continue his safe paleontology. So it's like, okay, you're checking off the logical boxes.
Yeah.
And
sure.
like in a way. So it worked. It worked for me. But I do understand, like, let's just get some new blood.
Yeah.
In some ways.
And I think, like, even though I think later in the movie he doesn't make a lot of sense, but I really liked Billy up until he stole the raptor egg. And I was like, I could almost see him just being the main character of this movie. And even like maybe Alan Grant's in the movie, and then he's like, don't go over there. And then Billy's like, I'm going to go help him.
I especially loved when Billy was basically eaten by the pterodactyl things. Uh-huh. And there was so much blood in the river. And then we see him on a plane and he's just got some bandages on. I love that. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I like the way that I think that the use of Ellie in this movie is the right way to bring back these types of characters, like you were saying, Michael, about like him. If Alan Grant was the one warning Billy, like, do not go, like, if Billy was the new character and he works with Alan Grant, and we just get Alan Grant like warning him, like, but then
what's his name in 2? Hammond.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then you just bookend it like they do with this movie with her, like with Ellie, where she's like in it in the beginning and then she's gone, and then she kind of comes back as a little bit of a, has her own heroic moment from a distance.
Yeah.
Like to do it that way is cool. Like I kind of liked their inclusion of Ian Malcolm in Fallen Kingdom, because it made sense. Like, you get to bring him back, but at the same time, he's like, I'm not like, he would not be going anywhere near that island. And that's why I am the most fascinated for this next one, because I'm like, really, how are you going to pull that off? Like, logically, without it being incredibly contrived. But yeah, like, so if it was just the use of a bookend, I think that's, like you said, like, that's the right dosage of old characters for a franchise like this.
Yes.
Yeah, if anything, this movie proves that Alan Grant is very gullible. Potentially.
He's just like, I mean, he's just playing dumber than he was in the first movie for most of, like, he'll get them out of it, but at the same time, he doesn't he doesn't feel like he's going through anything in this movie. He just kind of feels like, all right, let's just get out of here, guys. Like that's kind of his energy the whole movie.
And like in a way, in the first movie, he is motivated by, if you come here, I will fund your research. And that's what got him there. And they do the same
passion,
thing.
Yeah. In the first movie, he's got life, and he's also like he's in love with Ellie, and like in this one, like he's world weary. He's been through it, and it's like you'd think it'd make him more interesting, but just like in the last one with Ian Malcolm, for me it makes them less interesting.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
and probably realistically, he probably like it probably would have made more sense to kill his character in the movie, like. I don't know. Like, I guess I'm
in
not,
this movie.
Yeah, like
shit.
That's an interesting
back in this, like, because what's his arc in this? He has no real arc. It's just like, all right, like, I don't want to do this, but I don't want to be here. All right, we got out of it. Like, great. Like if he dies in it, like he could at least make a sacrifice and have like all of it be worth something. And instead, it's just kind of like, oh, thank God Ellie sent them.
Yeah, it's like even in a way when he finds the kid and they're in the bus, that's usually the moment where you know, maybe they change. But it's like, well, in the first movie, he was forced to be with children and he changed then. So what changing does he have to do now?
True.
And it's just like, oh, okay, let's just get out of this bus and go to the coast.
And honestly, the kid's got everything under control. So like, he doesn't even like need to put much thought or effort into it. The kid's like, I got urine, I got all the supplies we need, we're good. Like,
yeah.
What if it was and I'm getting ahead here, but what if it was a very Night of the Living Dead ending where Grant just accidentally got shot by like the Navy in the head as they're going to the coast, and that's it. Cut to black at the end.
They hear him using the Velociraptor vocal thing, and they're like, dinosaur, shoot.
Perfect.
But I do want to, before we get to the island, and I'll talk about this, and then let's just skip to the island. Skip to the fun stuff. But my favorite scene in this movie that I think is actually a really excellent scene that shows a lot about his character and stuff like that is when he's teaching the college class.
Okay.
I love it because it just shows, it does show like our odd relationship with people when they've done things. And then it just shows like what he is currently doing. So he's teaching this whole thing. He's trying to educate people on everything. And then he says, any questions? And everyone raises their hands and he says, but any questions not about Jurassic Park? And everyone puts their hands down. And it's like, that's so like indicative of how we react to people we don't know. Where it's like, I define you by that one thing and I'd like to know about it. And then, you want to teach me something else? Never mind. I'm out.
And now that you mentioned in the scene, I watched it today. He, right after they lower their hands, he says, or about the second incident in San Diego that I didn't witness. And to me, it was like a commentary. Like, not only did Dr. Grant not watch Lost World, but fucking the actor did not watch Lost World either.
There is definitely a reading of this movie you could do that is about like the franchise itself.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, Sam Neill needs money, so he is hired for this movie. And he did not go to this movie because he did not have money to do it.
If Billy steals those eggs, does that mean he's willing to do anything to carry this on?
The franchise is the eggs.
Yeah.
We could probably like much like Inception, how you can read it like, you know, DiCaprio's the director and Saito's the producer and these are the actors. We could probably sit here and like figure out who each of them are in regards to the franchise of Jurassic Park.
Sam Neill is Dr. Grant in Jurassic Park III. What'd you guys think of the part where we're going all over the place. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
The part where they blow up the plane with the teeth and the eyes on it to practice their shooting, the mercs.
I genuinely didn't care about anything that happened in that scene. It's just like, Go ahead.
Michael Jr. just goes, these guys are, I've never worked with them, but here they are. And then they blow up a plane and that's it.
Yeah,
that's like, all you need to know.
Maybe you should have just shown a picture of who's also going to be in this movie and then dies.
See, this is when it could have been cool if they were like, here's the team, and we see that this all takes place before Predator 1, and this is the team of commandos, and they take them there.
Shit. Well, that's it's funny because I think I don't find these characters very interesting. Grant got less interesting. The boys, like nobody's interesting to me, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like in this movie, like a big problem.
Well, that's the funny thing about all of the movies to my memory, because even though, again, I said that I did like Jurassic World, it just it also feels like but these characters are so paper thin. Whereas in the first Jurassic Park, they are so rich.
Yeah.
I just really, they all have these incredible arcs, and every time I watch the movie, I see something different about the characters.
But what's interesting about it is they're so rich, but they're so simple. They're just like they just basically represent humans.
Yeah,
it feels like Dennis Nedry is more developed than like Udesky in this movie. You know.
Wait, which is which?
Wayne Knight in the first movie is so much more developed than like the merc, the bald guy who like hires the other mercs in this movie, played by Michael Jeter.
Yeah,
who should be more interesting, I think.
Yeah,
because he's leading the team, kind of.
Well, and I think it does speak to, like we learned about earlier, this movie didn't have a finished script. So they're doing it, and I'm sure when they got to the editing bay on this movie, the editors and it's only an hour and a half. Jurassic Park movies are always over 2 hours, so there's probably so much that just didn't really make sense because they didn't have a finished draft.
Release the Johnston cut.
HBO Max, get Johnston back in there.
That seems to be HBO Max's entire platform. Is like, hey, you want to see better versions of old movies you liked? That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
I like it. They're the remixers, you know.
See, I think when that Justice League drops, I think that'll be the second podcast. I'll have to find a host to do it with, but I
just on that movie alone,
just the movie, and then the
a whole podcast?
10 episodes of because it might be a TV series. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Yeah, I'm not on board with that because I want to be able to just get a free trial of HBO Max and be done with it. I don't want to hold on for like 8 weeks or something like that.
Well, and for the record, I think it's a stupid idea, but it's too interesting not to watch for me.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm there.
Either
like
way,
they're gonna get my attention and they're gonna get my hours, but Yeah. I guess they'll have to get my money for a month or two too.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Kong Skull Island?
Yes.
Which is that the one with
Tom Hiddleston?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To me, that is good character work in a big monster movie. You know,
that movie was
everybody gets a
surprisingly good.
moment.
I didn't. Yeah. I watched the movie on a plane because when it came out, I was like, oh gosh, it's so dumb, like all this stuff. And then I finally watched it on a plane, and I was like, oh, I liked that movie. That was
it's
really good.
It's a perfect plane movie.
Yeah,
you gotta.
The characters are like you don't need a whole like backstory, but I think they're developed enough, and they actually are 3-dimensional, as opposed to this where it's expedited or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
very weird.
Yeah,
but so
I can't figure it out.
Let's talk about they're on the plane. A lot of those shots are a practical plane set that they built, which is super cool. I was watching the behind the scenes.
You mean like they're in the air?
No, like when the plane is like ripped apart and it's just the pit and it like falls out of the tree.
Okay.
There are a couple of CG shots in that, but a lot of that is just actual planes like that they built. That's really cool.
Wow, pre The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
And I think if I remember right, maybe you two will know better, but I think among like quote unquote fans of the series, like the Spinosaurus is like a big no-no. Is that correct?
Not to me, it's not as big of a no-no as the one in Worlds.
Oh,
but
Indominus.
That's just me. Yeah, well, that's just me.
I think it's pretty
for
cool.
My money, it's a cool looking creature, like dinosaur. But I think maybe among purists, it might connect to why I love Jurassic World so much. So I'm going to hold off on my opinion on the Spinosaurus for now, at least.
Okay, cool.
Or at least on the public opinion of the Spinosaurus.
It feels like in this one they leaned into the naturalized dinosaurs, and in World On they're creating lab-based dinosaurs. So it's whatever you prefer,
Yeah, but I like the crocodile head of it. And when it's in the water, that is a really good scene, I think.
Yeah, I like that sequence. The whole boat sequence is awesome to me.
Yeah.
I think.
But
yeah, I'm in agreement on
we're
that.
skipping a lot. What, Jordan?
Yeah.
I mean, so you find out that William H. Macy and Taya Leone are not just thrill seekers. Their son's there, like we already mentioned. So they crash land, and all the parents care about is finding their son. All Grant cares about is finding the coast. That's pretty much what we have. And of course, even though they both have their different things, they still end up staying together the whole time because of dinosaurs and whatever. So they eventually make their way to basically the headquarters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is the island from the second movie. Is that right?
I believe so. Okay. Yeah, not the first movie.
Oh yeah, because he says I wasn't on this island.
Which really begs the question: why the hell didn't they visit the first island from the first movie?
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to imagine they're both restricted. So yeah, why would they go to like, oh yeah, let's go back to that other island where they housed all the temporary dinosaurs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good point.
It feels like a smaller scale, like when it could have been potentially bigger. All you had to do was go to Site A, and your scale of the movie is bigger. Yeah. Right?
It's like, guys, we have a free trip to Orlando. Where do you guys want to go? Disney World or SeaWorld? Oh, we definitely want to go to SeaWorld.
Or Disneyland. You know?
But I do really like later when the aviary is really cool. I like the idea that they built that in the park.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Go ahead. I heard a breath like I'm gonna talk.
Was that me? Because I did. All right. They're in the bird cage, and that to me is also an effective scene. Even the old people sitting in front of us talking about guano could not ruin. And I was saying to my girlfriend, we were watching it today. There's a thin line sometimes between like horrifying and funny, and the part where that pterodactyl's walking down the plank is to me funny / terrifying.
Yeah.
In a perfect blend.
They look like a Tim Burton character or monster. So that's why I think that works for me.
Yeah, I think they're really cool.
I think anytime a creature slowly comes at you and has a look that's like, I'm gonna get you, like that's kind of funny to me.
Yeah. But they find the kid. The kid's we already kind of touched on him living in the island. Mm-hmm. There's a raptor attack. I think it's weird how in each successive movie the velociraptors look less and less cool.
They get more colorful, don't they?
Yeah.
Like toyetic.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird. They get more like they would have actually looked like like raptors. Because like
in reality,
by the time we get to World, they have like feathers and stuff, which is like the reality of what velociraptors would have had. But it's not as cool looking as like a reptile looking dinosaur. You know, like. Yeah. There is true science to the fact that they share more with birds, and like to the point, like a lot of them did have feathers.
And that's something I hate to digress too much, but like I feel like that's something they don't quite capitalize in this entire franchise. Is these are linked to birds, not mosquitoes, which is somehow significant to this series. Like I would like it if I were to write a Jurassic Park world, I might lean more into like the aviary type stuff because that's what they're evolved from.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, and I think in the first movie they do a really good job of that, especially bookending the movie with the them flying away, and he sees the birds flying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, it's so confusing because it ends and they recreate. I'm sorry, we usually are much better at staying in course, but it's just so odd to me that this movie ends with them flying away, and then he looks out and sees the pterodactyls. And I don't know what the message is supposed to be of that.
Well, I think the first one, they were going for a theme in the first one. And then this one, they have no theme whatsoever. It's just, hey, look at those fucking things. You know?
Micah pointed out a really gross thing is when they're flying, how their pelvises moved.
Yeah. The pelvises look, it's an odd movement. I would encourage you to look at it again.
I am going to as soon as we're done here. I was going to say, though, you guys probably maybe at this point have some loyal fans. They're probably pissed if we're jumping all over the place here. Right?
I don't think so.
Sorry, guys.
This is also a very, I think it also speaks to like how weird and confusing this movie is in a lot of ways.
I do want to say, though, so I know that this movie, I think, is pretty good, has a lot of issues. a lot of issues. But what I like it so much more than the last one. And I haven't seen World since it was in theaters, so I don't really remember. But the last movie is just like they're trying to be as philosophical, if not more, than the first movie. And that was so boring to me. And the action sequences were way too long for me. They were way too long and epic. Sure. Like each one was just so crazy. And then, okay.
Sorry, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No, it's just I think if you guys listen to Blank Check, I listened to that Lost World one. The only thing that really works for me in that movie is Pete Postlethwaite's little monologue about like his plight.
Yeah,
it's like all you can keep your awards, your money. I just want to look it in the eye and kill. I liked
his character. He was cool, and it was a shame that there were too many people in that movie. Yeah, that had some kind of role, because I loved him.
Like Bob Balaban wannabe, who's like working with him, who isn't Bob Balaban.
Yeah, it was like just so much. So then I was so bored during that movie, and when they got to, because I hadn't seen that movie before, so when they get to San Diego, I was like, please end this movie. I was just like ripping my hair out. And then, so then we get to this when we were watching it. I'm watching it knowing that it's shorter, so I'm already more excited to watch it. But also
90 under 90, baby.
They don't try making it philosophical at all, which is kind of an issue. But at the same time, because I was so bored with the last movie, it just worked for me on all those levels. It's like I already saw Jurassic Park. It was really interesting, really philosophical, and there was action. Now I just want to see dinosaurs chase people.
Yeah,
we got to see both sides of the coin, it seems. Yeah.
It's almost you could look at this movie if you wanted to. If you're, crazy, like probably all of us are with movies, if you wanted to like justify it, it's like, well, Lost World already kind of like ruined the streak of the movies, so you can have fun with this movie.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to. It is that weird thing where with Star Wars in particular, I know with a lot of the new movies, I know that there's a ton of issues in them, but for the most part, I kind of like them all. And when people get really aggressive about them, like toxic, I'm not talking like just a normal conversation where you just don't like a movie, but I'm always like, but there's a bunch of movies that they made in the early 2000s that aren't very good. So this has never been a perfect franchise. Yeah. So, like we don't have to hold it to the standard of Empire Strikes Back. Like you can let it go.
I'll tell you the simplest explanation for anyone who's toxic about Star Wars is just if they're like, oh, the movie like sucked, or like whatever their opinion is, if it's negative, you just ask them, are you a 7-year-old kid? Because this is that's who the movie was for. Yeah. Like that's literally like everyone forgets that Star Wars are supposed to be kids movies, and like by the time we get to like episode 9, it gets like really dark and gruesome, and it's like we don't need it. Like it's a kids movie. Like scale it back. Like have fun with it. It's a space opera. Like adventure. Just
Jared, it's Star Wars.
We own it. We made it.
When we saw the last one in theaters, there was a kid sitting next to me, and I don't think I've seen a kid more excited. And it just made me so happy to watch that movie.
That's cool.
But it's like that's why they make them.
Yeah, and I think of I don't know if you guys watch Patrick Willems' videos on YouTube. He's like he's a YouTuber, but he does film criticism videos, and I love his stuff. He's really great. But he did a video when Last Jedi came out, because there's the people that like really hate that movie, and he throughout the video it would just cut to him holding a billboard that says, "And don't forget, this is a space movie about wizards in space written for children." And then he'd put it down. So and he kept just bringing it up every time. But yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that weird fan base stuff.
Right, that they totally ran it into the ground, and J.J. Abrams should be shot, and Ryan Johnson should be hung from a tree. No, I'm sorry. No.
William H. Macy might agree with that.
No,
based on this movie.
on his quote. But So and by the way, we have not covered that series, so I think there are people listening to our pod that are like, "Ooh," I think we've confused them enough that they maybe don't know where we stand on the new movies.
What? And also, what episode is this right now?
I'm just kidding. We're in our 60s or 70s, I think now. If that's what you were asking.
Oh yeah. No, it was like what's the topic of conversation? But I'm glad you guys are in your 60s, 70s.
We're still under 90.
That's cool.
So we haven't been at the game as much.
Hey, keep it under 90. That's what my tattoo says on my arm. Yeah.
So let's return to the park, as we keep doing with these movies. Where are we at? We've talked about the pteranodons, the velociraptors.
He found the kid.
Yeah. They dig a phone out of poop.
Which we talked about that. There is...
How about that scene?
No, go ahead,
Micah. I was going to talk about the scene where they're at the gate and they hear the phone and the Spinosaurus makes it a point to sneak up on him with the phone in his belly.
I did say when we were watching it, like they turn around and he's just standing there, which is just like, okay. And I was like, why would you even try running at that point? That's how I felt.
No stomping this time.
He's just like,
yeah.
What's up, guys?
Well, that's a moment.
Right.
If you listen to our previous episode, we had Nick Turner on, and he said a lot of the Lost World feels like Spielberg going, yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense, but that's movie making.
Yeah.
And that was like his joke throughout our podcast. And that moment right there is like, that's movie making. Like, it's just there.
Hey.
And you're like, okay, it doesn't make sense, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't like nitpicking on those little things. It's like whatever to me.
I just thought it was cute. He's like, hey, he's just, hey guys.
Just sitting there.
A lot of the dinosaurs on this particular island are they're little heck raisers. They're just like, I'm gonna get you. Like, they're sneaking up on you. They're little.
Well, I let's project a theory onto these. Like, okay, Site A is probably like, the all-stars. You got your T-Rex on there, you got your Raptor. And then Site B, they're like the B squad. So they probably are trying to overcompensate all throughout this island, trying to make their way into the spotlight.
Either that or they have nothing to lose.
That's what they are. They're just a ragtag group of dinosaurs.
They're
as
the
far as I'm
runners up at
concerned.
the talent show.
They're the guys you get when you can't get the other guys.
But they can kill a T-Rex right quick. Yeah.
Oh, right quick, sir.
So, yeah, they get on the boat. The whole fam's there, having a jolly good time.
They're being chased by velociraptors like the whole time, even though we kind of see him once and then one more time because he stole eggs. But
and his motive for stealing the eggs is like baffling to me because he's a scientist and I know he's like motivated by money, and I know that that's like a big theme in these movies is like showing how like greed can corrupt and like capitalism and stuff like that.
But he studies these dinosaurs, and he has
like
a Grant
type of person
as his boss. So it's like, what did he think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly like that's his thought. Like, come on, what's gonna happen, guys? Like, this happened twice before, already.
Yeah. So then we have the really great sequence where they're in the water and he's trying to call Laura Dern.
Good sequence.
And it cuts back to her son Charlie, like getting distracted by America's favorite dinosaur, Barney. And I think that's a fun sequence. Again, it doesn't quite hit the like Spielberg level of like tension for me, but it's still as good as this movie has gotten in as far as tension goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps that it's raining and it's night and there's like flashing lights. That always makes it much more interesting. Because most of this movie is just daytime stuff, which is not unusual for Jurassic Park. But
it makes sense knowing that there was like half a script or whatever, because they can always lean on this sequence and the pterodactyl cage sequence, and they can build a story around that. And at the very least, they'd have a decent movie because of those sequences.
And I think if you are a kid, I mean, this is just great. You're like, finally, pterodactyl or pteranodons, I guess.
Yeah.
And finally, this other thing that's even bigger than a T-Rex. Heck yeah.
But then after the sequence is that when the Velociraptor thing happens,
where they like give the egg.
Yeah. I mean,
they like give the idol
and for
to
me,
them.
it's like, talk about a scene with no tension. I like don't care if the mom or the dad gets killed or something. It's just like, we're almost at the end of the movie. Let's just get it over with.
Right.
And
yeah.
Too little,
it's
too
also
late.
like, I know that they were trying to establish with the eggs earlier, like, oh, these are going to be used, but it's in such a blasé-faire way that by the time you get there, you're like, oh yeah, what? Why did they want to keep them? And it doesn't feel like, I don't get that moment where I'm like, oh, I get it now. I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess someone wrote this movie for sure because this feels so written.
Yeah.
There's like those moments in movies like this where it just feels like you can hear a writer like typing on their typewriter.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that with the ending of this movie, with the Navy and the Marines the Merchant Marines showing up at the end. Yeah. And the Day X Navy shows up and saves the day. Before that, I like the part, and this is kind of like where Jurassic World kind of went when we started that. I think we kicked off like nostalgia craze with World, is they go back to the site of the visitor center, and it's it would have been a perfect blast from the past if they went to Site A where that banner hung and the raptors and the kitchen and all that. No. But we don't get that. We get Site B's visitor center.
They destroyed that set or something, and they couldn't bring it back.
Well, it's almost like Joe Johnston was like, yeah, Jurassic Park is great, but I'm a real big fan of The Lost World, so I really want to make a direct sequel to The Lost World. Like,
right.
And I want to match the excitement level of that whole movie. I want you to be just as bored as you were with Lost World.
And we're going to do it in less time, too.
I mean, that's all I ask, if that's how he
feels. Yeah, thank you for that. Taya Leone doesn't really mourn the Seinfeld guy, Milos, the tennis instructor.
Maybe that's why she let them go parasailing.
That is...
This is a plot.
Yeah, it's like, fuck them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's... I think we've kind of covered the whole thing. It's a very odd movie.
There's just really not any depth. It's just there's not a lot I feel like to dig into.
Yeah.
And like in previous...
To me, it feels very Sci-Fi Channel with a really big budget. Like the best sci-fi movie, like Sci-Fi Channel movie ever made, but not the best like movie ever made.
Written by Alexander Payne.
But yeah, I think it's an odd movie. I do think it is kind of fun though. I had before we'd watched it, I had kind of put this movie in like it's just a bad movie, and I do think it's a bad movie, but it's certainly enjoyable to watch.
I agree, and like I said, this is my second favorite. So what does that tell you? Because I do have a lot of problems with this movie, which means like the franchise as a whole, I'm not the biggest fan of. I guess that's what that means.
Well, I'm a bigger fan, so I'm more forgiving of certain things. But
I do wish we did Fallen Kingdom, because I think it would have been a really blood boiling interesting conversation, because I really dig that movie. There's a lot of like, and I feel like a contrarian in the way that I like it.
I mean, send us a 2-minute recording, and we'll put it at the end of our episode.
Are you guys?
That'd be cool.
Okay, I'll do that. Cool.
But
sounds good.
Yeah, so I want to hear. Is there anything else we want to talk about with this movie, Jurassic Park 3? Does anyone have anything else they have?
As far as advancement of a franchise, which is really the goal when it comes to sequels, it doesn't really do much to sum it up, but it does have exciting parts for me, and I don't hate it. So that's about as good as it gets from me. I'll give it like a 6.5 out of 10.
I think that's good.
It's less for me, but I totally respect that. All right, so hit us with your Jurassic World thing. You're priming us for next week's episode.
Yeah. I hope I didn't build it up to be much more than it is, and for the listeners, I am going to be getting into some plot points for Jurassic World, so you may want to pause my portion of this and listen to it later. But I think the problem with this movie is that it's kind of trying to do what Jurassic World can do successfully, which is separate it from Spielberg. And like, you got the first two movies, and then you got this one, and it's kind of like a transitional movie where I think by the time we get to Jurassic World and there's enough separation, we're kind of like the whole mentality of the movie is like, yeah, who cares? It looks cool. Like that's kind of like the whole point of that movie is like, it doesn't matter. It just looks cool, and nothing is going to be as good as the first one. So let's just have fun with it. And so like, that's kind of how I feel about Jurassic Park 3 is like, you know, we weren't yet ready to accept some change yet, you know, like that's kind of how I feel. Like we were too close to the previous ones that were like, we just want more of the same. And we didn't know that we wanted something a little bit different. But regarding why Jurassic World makes me cry is because of, and kind of touching on Jurassic Park 3, like if people, I can only theorize why purists may be against the Spinosaurus. I got nothing against it. I mean, it's a dinosaur that, you know, existed. So it's like, you know, that's fine. You know, but I think the problem is that everyone kind of forgets that the T-Rex is the hero of that first movie. So by the time you get to Jurassic World and like shit is going down and like, you know, they only have one option left. What are they going to do? We need to get that T-Rex from the first movie. Like a lot of people don't connect that. At the end of Jurassic World, that is the same T-Rex who saved everybody in the first movie. So it's like, they're like, girl, we need your help. Like they go and they get like, I'm getting a little emotional right now. It's like, it's like going back to like the one, you know, like we can't get out of this without you. And like, she comes crawling out, like, you know, and like the light kind of shines on her. And she's like, what do you need me to do? And like,
she's like Rambo
go over there. Like, yeah. Like Indominus Rex attack. And then there's like, she's like, they're like fighting and it's like, screw you. Like she destroys the Indominus Rex, you know? And it's like, I don't know. I tear up every time she starts walking out of that paddock because I'm like, that's our hero. That's the same one. Like that's the girl who saved everybody in the first one. So like, I theorize that might be why people are against the Spinosaurus. Cause like they see a T-Rex go down, they assume that it's the same T-Rex and they're like, no, you can't do that to Rexy. Like we can't have you do that. So I don't know, that's my theory on it. But, and that's why I tear up at the end of every movie. Cause it's like, it doesn't matter. Like all of this stuff is like, it's great. It's cool. But the thing that really matters is that first one. And like, nothing is ever going to be as good as that first one. Nothing is ever going to defeat that first one.
Wow.
I don't know. Johnston cut.
I think I'm definitely going to be mulling that over. Cause we're going to record that one, next Friday, so we'll probably we usually watch the day before, so we'll probably watch it on Thursday, and I will be thinking about that. Me
too.
That's a pretty interesting way to view it.
That's honestly like you can watch that whole movie. The whole movie is telling you this movie doesn't even deserve to exist. You guys, we should just enjoy it. Like that's basically you got the Jake Johnson guy in that control room, and he's reminding everybody like, hey, you remember how cool the first. Like, all right, like it's going to be kind of more of the same, but like, let's just try to have fun with it.
Oh man, you may have cracked it. You need to get this out there.
Do you think if Grand Moff Tarkin's CG double said that to us, the viewers during Star Wars, like, guys, just sit back. You know, it's never going to be as good as Empire. Like, we would accept it more?
Maybe.
Yeah, kind of.
Having said that, I think they should bring back Hammond in CG, even though he died in the second one. I think we can all agree that they should bring back him as a totally CG double in the next one too.
And don't even touch upon the fact that he died. Like his character's just let it.
No.
Well, isn't there a statue of Hammond?
You can CG them too
in Jurassic World.
Yeah,
I did like that touch a lot. That was like, oh, that's very cool.
I'm talking hologram at least. So
yeah, I like movies that could like do like the nostalgia factor right. Like as much I did not like the Ghostbusters reboot that they did, but I thought that all of the fan service that was included in there was very well done.
Okay, I'm not very loyal to that franchise. I've only seen the first movie, so
admittedly, I'm a child of the 80s, and I'm not even like a huge Ghostbusters fan. I think that they're kind of overrated, to be honest with you. Like really only the first one is really good, and like I don't even think it's like that special, but I don't know. It's hard for me to place where the culture was in 1984 because it was a year before I was born.
That would we did a Patreon bracket to choose our next series, which was the series we just covered, Middle Earth.
Oh, okay.
And that Ghostbusters was on there, and I was just hoping it'd get off because I'm like I don't think I'll be that interesting because I just have no I saw the first movie and I was like, yeah, I kind of like it, I guess, because Bill Murray's in it. Yeah. That was like my take on Ghostbusters 1. So I just don't have any.
How long ago was that though when you saw it?
I was probably that'd have been like 6 or 7 years ago.
I mean, yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, maybe it would be interesting because we don't have any loyalty to it.
Speak for yourself. Just kidding. I like it. I probably have more in the same boat.
Yeah.
Actually.
But that is very cool. Yeah. And then who was it? Dan or Jeremy that said Fallen Kingdom was your second?
That's me. Yeah, Dan.
Okay. Yeah. Send us a clip and we'll.
Can I just?
A short one.
It's gonna be me saying, guys, it's my second favorite movie, and that's it. No, I'll tell you why I like it. I'll try to keep it quick too.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Cool. Thank you.
But yeah, thank you for being on. This was a really great episode. You guys were great.
Oh, thank you for having us.
I'd love to do it again sometime.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on again. And
it's nice to actually like you said, this is the closest to 90, but it is nice to actually get to talk about movies that are over because there's a lot of big blockbusters that we just will never be able to cover on our show.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to have you on again to do something that's like, I don't know, maybe even 2 hours or an hour 45.
Well, like I said, if you get around to Back to the Future, you keep me in mind because I have.
Oh, that's right. You did
much love for Back to the Future.
Yeah, we're hedging our bets on. We really want to try hard to get Scott Aukerman on Back to the Future.
Oh shit!
That's a big dream.
I support that. Holy,
it's a big dream. But we've heard him on another podcast say how he likes to try and do podcasts, and so I emailed his publicist, and the publicist told me to email his manager, and I'm just like crossing my fingers and praying because that would be.
I'm knocking on wood here for you guys because that's
If that ever happened, then we might just be like, all right, and that's our last episode. Thank you, we've done it.
I would be fine with that.
I might have to edit that out though. I don't know. That's telling people too much, but maybe it'll put it out there. Maybe somebody who listens to our podcast knows Mr.
It's like the
Aukerman.
Secret, man. Just will it into happening.
That's right.
But thank you for being on, listener. We are going to be on the 90 under 90, Jordan and I, and we're going to talk about Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox. I already said it at the beginning, but you're going to have to tune into that. It's this same week. What do you guys come out on Wednesdays or
Thursdays?
We're on Thursday, so we may have released before this one. I'm not sure. I think you said you might have been dropping this on a Friday or something.
Yeah,
we do Fridays. So. Yeah, I think.
So yeah, I think our episode just dropped yesterday. We're going into the future here, folks.
So go Back to the Future.
It was a really good episode too.
Yeah, one of the best.
Yeah,
in podcast history.
Absolutely.
All right, do you guys have anything to plug?
Yes. Very soon we have a feature film coming out called An Intervention. It's all improvised. It's a mock doc about group of high school friends who bring one of them used to date a guy and brings her ex to her house to throw a impromptu intervention for him, and I think it's the best thing I've ever done. You'll be able to find that. We're going to create a website, all that, so it's really early, but if you go to facebook.com/Eek Theater, I believe, or you just find Eek Theater or Eek Entertainment, we have two separate ones, and keep you up to date there.
That sounds cool.
Wow. That's very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for me, I would just say listen to 90 Under 90 because that's aside from this movie that we both have coming, that's all I've got. My projects are a little too far out to really plug just yet.
Cool. Well, thanks again for coming on, listener. But go to patreon.com/Micah McCaw and listen to our episode on Finding Dory this month that you cannot hear unless you're a patron.
Ooh.
All right. See you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Took it easy.